taking my Sunday walk, ate what I'm not supposed to, and I don't care. So I'll bite. To the friends over at Horse Plop, I mean, how sad are you people? I mean, it's 20 years you're on there running your gums anonymously about other people. Typical harness racing trash, barn trash. I don't care how much money you say you're making, you can't back any of it up. Only I, Rocco Ruffalo, maybe one other person, other than Dan Nance, have been over there as themselves. So I'm going to bite on the Bartlett thing, and I'm going to correct you all again, because I know none of you can genuinely ever be happy for anyone else. And you know how I can prove that? Read Horse Plop. You don't see it on my group page, which crushes your ridiculous forum, by the way. And I noticed there was a memory dump. Everything before, I think 2015 now, has been erased from Horse Plop. Thus why your site was crashing and crawling. But anyway, obviously you don't have the money to pay for a better server and more server memory capability. But when it comes to Jason Bartlett, I'll say it like this. In my entire life, the closest I've ever been to someone who is not a member of my family, who I considered better than my family on many occasions, in many instances. We all know the story, but I'm going to go over it again. First, people are saying, I read to one idiot, I'm ready to commit suicide because he won a Breeders' Crown. I have been rooting for that kid, and I'll call him that kid, since 2008. He'll remember everything. He may not admit it now because he can't. The situation he painted himself into when it comes to me, that's on him. Which I will briefly touch on again. But I told him years ago, you're going to have the numbers. All you're missing are the trophies, because that's how it works in harness racing. Plus, you got to be a kiss ass. So not only am I happy for him, I'm happy for his children. I'm even happy for his wife, who I understand why she did the things she did that contributed to where we are now, which I won't go into, other than a few things that she thought was funny at the time, but it wasn't. But I will tell you, the Jason and Chrissy that I still care about, who are underneath all that, and I know that's not the way they are, it's the way it turned out when Jason started asking me to back off people like Mark Ford, Richie Banca, and Josh Marks. I know where that all came from because he told me where it came from. He told me how many times Mark Ford would contact him, trying to press me. Well, and that he told Ford, don't underestimate, I'll never forget his exact words, don't underestimate Petrelli. He may come across as an idiot, which is exactly what Jason would call me, and I'd tell him he sucks, he can't drive, because that's what friends do. But he's intelligent, and he won't stop. And no, I didn't. I'm ready to pass Orange County Bagels like in 3 minutes right here, where we had our last conversation that lasted over 2 hours. After all that shit hit the fan, and I understood why he was doing what he was doing. He's got to do business with those people. I don't. Our friendship lasted because we rarely talked about harness racing. I cheered him. I was happy for him. He is everything that he really should not have been. With what he went through growing up, he did learn his horsemanship from his grandfather. He's an excellent horseman as well as a driver. I told him again long ago, the only way you're going to get better on the big track is drive on the big track. That was one of his shortcomings. And you got to play the politics and get the Grand Circuit drives to get those drives. You got to chase them. You're not going to get that by staying at Yonkers. If you notice, and this is my assumption, as his children got older and he didn't have to stay home as much and he was able to start chasing it, he did. And it finally paid off. I was ridiculously happy for him 2 nights ago when he went with that 2-year-old. I texted him, whether he got it or not, that's on him. I did the right thing. And I posted it to my group page. Last night he won another one. Could have won 4. He was close. But he's driving out of his skull because he's able to just relax finally. We talked for God knows how many hundreds of hours, thousands of hours on way back from when he was at Vernon, Buffalo, Batavia, wherever. Over and analyzing himself. He never relaxed. That was his biggest problem. I told him again, like I said a few minutes ago, you've got the numbers. Someday, not only will you win these races, but he's over 12,000 wins. He's got 2 Breeders' Crowns in his pocket. He won the Yonkers Trot this year. He's going to win more. He's going to get better, 2 and 3-year-olds to drive. And like I've told him forever, best half-mile track driver on the planet, one of the best 5/8 mile track drivers on the planet. And now you can throw him in the argument that he can easily hold his own on a mile track. About 1.5 miles from here is the Hall of Fame. He'll end up in there one day. And that's something I was hoping for him for a long time, that it was going to come. And it will. All those plaques he's got in his office up until a couple of years ago, I hung them for him. He didn't want to hang his accolades on the walls of his own house in his office. I said, you're out of your mind. You earned it. Put them up. The Thurman Munson Award he had in a box. I said, do you understand what this stuff means? This wasn't handed to you. You came from nowhere. You did it on your own. And I'll say now, I'll address the people on Horse Plop. If it wasn't too long ago that all of you were absolutely trashing this kid. Overrated, never wins the big races, obnoxious, self-centered prick, full of himself. Couldn't be further from the fucking truth. You talk about me? That's jealousy. To this day, I still care about him, his wife, and his children. Will we ever speak again? Probably not. There could never be trust there ever again. What was done to me, I had forgiven it. That's why we met at Orange County Bagels. I just walked past. 2 hours went by of conversation, patching things up, to the point where we agreed it's better off that let's just not give my enemies the opportunity to attack him, press him, put him in a position, lay low, not speak if we have to. But as we were getting up and walking out, and he told me the story about when he would call me and we'd start talking about, this was at the beginning, and I got kicked out of historic track, and he's asking me to back off people, and I'm like, dude, do you understand what you're asking me? They took my horses. That was what I kept repeating back then. That's what hurt me the most. Steve Jones won that battle. You sure as shit haven't won any fucking wars. Look at what's happening now. Everything that's happening right now is a direct result of the decision made by Steve Jones and the board of directors of Goshen Historic Track. But when Jason said to me that I was getting so out of control, screaming at him, saying, you're out of your fucking mind, and I was screaming multiple times. he was going to have his state trooper friend from CrossFit over on Dolsontown Road come and teach me a lesson. And that's when I knew they got to him. And that's when I told him, sorry, bud. Done. Anything that I said about him was a direct result of that, all supported by facts. But never once did I ever wish him bad luck. Never. For years, I protected him, while people again back then were trashing him. Hush Limbaugh, a name that I'll never forget, who he was watching, and he'd say, they're at it again. Who is this fucking guy? He's posting pictures of my kids. Back then, that's when Dan Nance was still behind horse Plop. I got Dan to intervene. Didn't really work. And all I would tell Jason is kind of like I try to tell myself now is, why are you letting, how many races are you winning? How much money are you making at the end of the week? What do you care about these people? He'd say, well, my grandfather called me and said this happened and that happened. I said, ignore him. He's an old guy. He's reading there. It's his way of protecting you. But don't let it affect you. But back then, shit like that used to bother him. He knows it. And what you idiots don't maybe you remember another screen name, which was the account that I have right now, Farmington Flash. That was me. I was the one always fighting back. I remember when he was in the first World Driving Championship. There was that bet, all that bullshit. And again, another guy who would never back it up with who he is, just to get under somebody's skin who obviously they dislike for whatever reason. I heard it was something about a Colt that they sold him years ago. Who knows? And now I'm seeing that people are posting that the guy is dead. Who cares? And like I said all along to Bartlett, ignore it, just keep driving. In the end, I used to say that last number on the program is all that matters. Earnings. It's not even about the amount of wins. What would you rather have? 1,000 wins a year and Walter Case $300,000 earned, or 300 wins and now what's he pushing, 15 million? It's more than 300 wins. But my point is, earnings per start outweighs wins. And another thing he used to say when I say, oh, you're missing the trophies. Oh, I don't care about that. Trophies just collect dust. Well, now you're at a point where you do need to take the final step, and he has. Trophies get you in the Hall of Fame, and that's where he belongs. And as to the friend that I used to know, I'm fucking happy for you, asshole. And that's how I'd say it to him. And then I would bring up, how'd you get beat in the ninth? You suck. That's the way we used to talk. And then we'd say, what do we got to do at the house? Close the pool, finish your basement, put together, rake up, anything. And likewise, he did an enormous amount for me. And we never talked about it. You know why? Because I was probably at the time the only person he didn't have to worry about. There was no ulterior motive. I wasn't in the game. And nothing changed until I got back in the game. Ironic, isn't it? So, what was I going to say? Something about horse Plop and people. But I hope all the people, like a guy like Ford, gets off on this. But I'm going to say it like this. Mark, you never had a friend like that in your life. Look at the way you live. Nobody likes you. They tolerate you because they have to. They need you. You have what they need. Whether it's a place to stable, how you can get things done behind the scenes for them. Your entire existence is based on controlling people. Our existence was based on just genuinely being friends. You could never relate to that. And a lot of your other friends could never relate to that either. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I would never, and this is, I used to say this all the time about just in general in harness racing. Everybody's envious of each other. Everybody's banging each other's wife and girlfriend. I mean, it's really, literally a refuge for white trash. Uneducated. Talk about all the money you make. Money that's stolen from the states. An industry that doesn't create anything. An industry that's propped up by nonstop subsidies. Oh, we create jobs. Create jobs for what? It's like arguing with the people in the carriage horse industry. And now with the other battle I wasn't looking for. I wasn't looking for any of this. This came to me as time passed on. But again, to set the record straight, I'll never make excuses or lie about certain people. And they know who they are. And everybody moves on. If I passed him here on, I was going to say, the day after we had that blowout, it wasn't really even a blowout. We had that conversation. He told me about he was going to send somebody to teach me a lesson. I called him 5 minutes after he left and I said, just want you to know, I don't know what made you say that. I didn't blow up on him, but I let him have it. And he tried to make excuses. I said, no, dude, sorry. Nope. You revealed yourself. And the next day after, I don't know, I was walking across the street to Village Pizza. Here he pulls up in the Jaguar. Get in the car. Beside himself. Upset. Fuck you, asshole. Never again. Get in the car. Come on. I got to explain. Just get in the car. Nope. Done. Never trust him. And I understand why. And this is me as a friend again protecting him. What's he going to make this year? 16 million by the time the meet ends at Yonkers? Maybe push 17? Who knows? It's a lot of money. And these scumbags in the business who were putting him up to what he was saying to me would make his life miserable. So I look at it this way. That was the final act that I didn't return, along with all the things that I did for him and the things that he did for me. That's protecting him. And that's the end of it. So take that and twist it any way you want, losers. Catch y'all later.